Are you ready to dominate your fantasy league this season? In this video, I'll reveal the ultimate strategies for drafting from the 101 position. Say goodbye to draft day headaches as we explore must-have players, roster construction strategies, and run through a lightning-fast mock draft that will set you up for victory. I'm Tom Strachan, writer and podcast host for Fantasy Pros. This is Fantasy Sanctuary, where we've got one simple goal: to help you win. So let's get to it. This year's first round is absolutely loaded. No matter what format you're in, you're probably looking at these names at the very top: Ja'Marr Chase, Saquon Barkley, Justin Jefferson, and Bijan Robinson. We're going to dive into each of them because while all four are elite, the path to a championship roster, it changes depending on who you take. Let's start with the consensus number one, Ja'Marr Chase. Last season, he was a fantasy cheat code: 117 receptions, 1,612 yards, 16 touchdowns, and he averaged 2 more PPR points per game than Justin Jefferson, who was the next closest wide receiver. But here's what makes Chase even scarier in 2025. He wasn't just a boom player when T. Higgins was hurt. He was even better when T. Higgins was out there. Chase actually averaged 24.7 PPR points per game compared to 21.3 when Higgins was out. That's insane consistency with a ceiling that is just unmatchable. And the Bengals defense, it's still likely to struggle. Joe Burrow's going to have to throw early and often. Chase, he's cleared 1,200 yards in 3 of his 4 seasons. He's had back-to-back years with 100-plus catches. There seems to be no reason why he could regress here outside of injury. He's about as safe as a wide receiver 1 pick can get, and he has that absolute league-winning upside that we saw last year. Saquon Barkley. Now, Saquon Barkley is the name that surprises people when he see that he's not actually the 101. In 2024, he rushed for 330 more yards than any other running back, scored 15 touchdowns, was a top 5 fantasy running back in 7 different weeks. That is huge leverage in managed formats where we are looking to beat our opponents. It's not about just scoring points, it's about beating the other people in your league. The concern, and it is a legitimate one, is the workload. Over 400 combined touches between the regular season and playoffs. That's a historically dangerous volume for running backs. Many backs see a drop-off following year due to fatigue or injury risk. But let's be real, it's fair to assume that Saquon Barkley might not be quite as good this year, but he can still be very good and still potentially be the RB1 overall. Barkley's efficiency last year was elite. His involvement in the passing game is strong enough that we can live with it. And the offense, it just runs through him. If you believe he can handle another monster workload, there's a strong case for him at the 101, especially if you were talking about standard or half PPR formats. Justin Jefferson. We've got probably the most consistent wide receiver in the league here. Across his career, he's averaged 96.5 receiving yards per game. He's never had a season below 87.5. For context, only 5 players hit that number in 2024, and Jefferson was one of them. He gives you such a high floor at the position. He's been a top 5 wide receiver in PPR points per game since 2021, and when he's on the field, we know that floor is elite. The only kind of red flags for him: he's already dealing with a mild hamstring strain, and while mild sounds better than serious, soft tissue injuries, we know they can linger, especially for players who rely on being explosive. The only other downside, potentially, JJ McCarthy. Yes, this is a quarterback who we've just not seen in the NFL yet. He missed his entire rookie season, but all reports suggest that he's lighting it up in training camp. If you can trust Justin Jefferson will be 100% by week 1 with this hamstring strain, then he's as good as better as anyone to finish as the wide receiver overall. But with Chase healthy and just as productive, the tiebreaker between these 2 wide receivers leans towards Ja'Marr Chase for me. Bijan Robinson. This is a little bit more of a forward-thinking pick. He finished 3rd in rushing yards last season with 1,456, scored only 2 fewer touchdowns than league leaders Derrick Henry and James Cook, and was basically impossible to stop at the goal line. According to fantasypoints.com, out of 46 qualified running backs, he had the lowest percentage of runs stopped and ranked top 2 in success rate in both man and zone blocking schemes. That's versatility and efficiency. Oh, and in the passing game, 58 receptions, which is a massive number for a running back. He's got that perfect blend of rushing dominance, receiving work, and goal line usage. If you want a running back 1 overall profile without Barkley's workload risk, Bijan Robinson is the swing for the fences pick that you want. Let's talk roster construction strategy for a moment from the 101. If you go wide receiver at the 101, let's say Chase, by the time you're on the clock in round 2, you can still land fairly strong running back 1-2 candidates and still have access to the elite quarterbacks like Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, even top tight ends in Trey McBride. You're probably going to miss out on Brock Bowers. If you start running back, the wide receivers you'll see in round 2, guys like Tyreek Hill, Jackson Smith and Jigba, they do tend to have a few more question marks around them for 2025. That's why I would just slightly lean towards wide receiver at the 101 this year. It just gives you a little more flexibility and a safer floor at the top. We're going to use the Fantasy Pros Draft Wizard to mock draft. It is insanely customizable. You can sync your leagues to it, automatically copy your settings, and it'll adjust the rankings for that. You can choose which expert rankings and insights you'd like to see, including mine, which are part of the expert consensus rankings of over 100 people from across the industry. There's no waiting around for other people, nobody taking 6 kickers. Instead, we can mock against the Wizard and get feedback from top experts for our drafts instantly. Check out the link in the description below to start your own mock draft on Fantasy Pros right now. So for this settings, we're going with the 2025 season. We'll go with the half PPR snake draft, setting it to the number 1 overall pick. You see, we've got a fairly standard kind of home league setup here. 1 quarterback, 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, 1 tight end, 1 flex, 1 kicker, 1 defense, and then 5 bench spots. You can also bump the positional values based on how your league drafts. If they go particularly running back heavy, you might want to bump that up to slightly high, very high, depending on what kind of sickos you play with. So, to kick things off, we are going with Jamar Chase. I said that's my slight lean, and I still stand by it. I think he is the best pick on the board. When it comes back around, we miss out on Trey McBride, which is a little bit of a shame. We've got Kyron Williams, Ladd McConkey sitting towards the top of ADP, as well as T. Higgins. In best ball, I'd be looking at that mega stack with T. Higgins. But here, let's take the value on Ladd McConkey, who's fallen slightly. So we've got 2 really good high-volume wide receivers. And then we'll take Kyron Williams. I know he's not everybody's cup of tea, but having signed that contract, it feels like he's locked in to be the lead back in LA once again. And if we're betting on LA to be a good team this year, which most people are, then it makes sense. And if Matthew Stafford struggles with injury, Kyron Williams could see a huge amount of touches. So back on the clock, James Conner, DK Metcalf are top options. I think we do probably want to take a couple of running backs here. I'm going to take James Conner. I think that he's one of the best values on the board. 3 straight seasons with 8 or more touchdowns. Just a really reliable, steady, good play. And then we've got a choice. We could swing for the fence a bit on some of the wide receivers. DK Metcalf could be great in Pittsburgh, but he also could be a bit of a nightmare. Cortland Sutton, Devonta Smith, Jameson Williams. I think we can afford to shoot for upside here and go with Jameson Williams. I'm not the biggest Jameson Williams fan, but I think it's undeniable that he has a really high ceiling. The Lions seem to be betting on him taking a leap this year. So I'm okay with him as our wide receiver 3. Back on the clock in the 6th round, and I'm going to take Jalen Waddle as my 4th wide receiver. I know not everybody loves him, but Jalen Waddle really has a chance to be great on this Miami team where the defense just looks absolutely miserable this year. They are going to have to pass the ball a lot. After that, we could take a look at running back. Jordan Mason's kind of okay. I do like him, but maybe not here with running backs we've got. TJ Hawkinson, the top tight end, but we can probably push that on a bit. Quarterback Patrick Mahomes. There's nobody really standing out. So if in doubt, we'll take another wide receiver and just bet on elite talents shining through. Let's take Travis Hunter. We really want to swing for the fences here and now just work out whether we can have the best wide receiver room in this league. When it comes back around, running back, we'll take Ramondre Stevenson. I don't think he's going to disappear from this offense completely, despite Trevion Henderson being really impressive. At the tight end position, I'm going Mark Andrews. Look, I'm a Ravens fan, but apparently he's playing really well in training camp. He scored 11 touchdowns last year, which led all tight ends. And I just don't think that Lamar Jackson is suddenly going to go away from him, despite that ugly drop in the playoffs. So quarterback, we've got Brock Purdy, Justin Fields as the top 2. We've had a little bit of a run on them in recent rounds. Running back, Austin Eckler, Trey Benson, Dylan Sampson. I'm going to take Austin Eckler here. Austin Eckler was still really good in the receiving game last year, had really strong target share, really strong volume, and I think that'll continue with Jaden Daniels this year. At quarterback, look, this is turning into a swing for the fences type draft. We'll take Justin Fields. I know that reports out of training camp are suggesting some pretty poor accuracy issues, but Justin Fields, we draft him because of what he can do with his legs. Through 6 games last year, he was averaging 37 yards per game. He had 2 games out of 6 where he rushed for multiple touchdowns. There's very few other quarterbacks in the league who can give you that kind of high floor, high ceiling outcomes. Tucker Kraft, I'm double dipping at tight end, and I'm okay with it. It's not something I always do, but Tucker Kraft was elite with yards after the catch last year, scored 7 touchdowns. really think that he can take the leap this year into the top tier of tight ends. Running back, we've got 4 running backs, we've got 5 wide receivers, so it's probably time to decide, do we need to go running back or wide receiver with our last pick, because the next 2 picks are going to be kicker and defense. I'm going to lean over to running back and I'm going to take Marshawn Lloyd. I think there's been enough good talk about him that if he can actually stay healthy, he can make a difference for fantasy football this year. So as I said, I'm always going kicker and defense with the last picks. You're not going to catch me taking a defense in round 12 or 13. Definitely not in the single-digit rounds. We'll go with the Seattle Seahawks. I'm betting on Mike McDonald to really make an impact with that defense this year. That's why the Seahawks brought him there, and I think we saw signs of it last year, and I think this year they're going to take a leap and be a really fun defense. And then we'll take Dicker the kicker for the Chargers. The Mock Draft Wizard very kindly gives us an A+, 97 out of 100. If we click through, we can see our full rankings here. Projected score, the most points by nearly 50 points in this league. Now, we do have a bit of a bye-week logjam with Kyren Williams, James Conner, Jameson Williams, Travis Hunter, and Seattle Seahawks all having their bye week on week 8, but we will figure that out as the season goes along. We drafted Justin Fields in the 10th round, 2 rounds later than he's ranked. Tucker Kraft in the 12th round, 3 rounds later than he's ranked. They didn't like the Marshawn Lloyd pick, but I don't care. Marshawn Lloyd is one of the guys who I feel fairly good about this year. So that roster finished: Jamar Chase, Ladd McConkey, Kyren Williams, James Conner, Jameson Williams, Jalen Waddle, Travis Hunter, Ramondre Stevenson, Mark Andrews, Austin Eckler, Justin Fields, Tucker Kraft, Marshawn Lloyd, Seattle Seahawks DST, and Cameron Dicker. So there you have it, the breakdown for the 101 in 2025. Whether you go with Chase's consistency, Barkley's volume, Jefferson's reliability, or Bijan Robinson's all-round dominance, the key is to understand your options and build the rest of your roster around that first pick. If this video helped you, hit the like, subscribe button for more draft strategy videos, and tell me in the comments, who are you taking at the 101 this year?